This is about 20 hours of painting time. I'm going to walk through it. A lot of it is done wet paint on dry paint, and I'll try to make note of that when I can. This is the image that I started with. I'm going to make a few adjustments, especially to the background, as I go through. I'm taking a canvas that was previously had a different painting on it I wasn't happy with. So I've painted over it. You can still see a little bit of the ghost image of the prior piece there. And then I'm going to create cross marks on the image and then also do the same thing on the canvas so that I sort of have a little bit of a guideline and I'm not just starting with the whole blank canvas. I'll often do this just to give me a little bit of space to work with, but you can see I was able to put the background in first without having to do anything else. Notice how I'm holding the pencil kind of lightly to just get a rough idea of where my image is going to be. I normally save most of the white for the very end. It's like a treat to be able to put in those highlights. But since this bottle in the foreground has so much white in it, I'm going ahead and putting it in here. I'm not sure why the symmetry is so off on that bottle. It's been a little while between the painting and the voiceover. So I may have done that because there is a sort of edge there, and you'll see it does get corrected as I go forward. It may be that I just didn't see it because I was sitting so close to it. That's why it's a good idea to always get up and move back from the piece. I do tend to paint sitting a lot, but it's very helpful to stand while you're painting, or at least to get up and move back so you can see if things are off. Sometimes there's a wonderful surprise when you move back as well. I kind of lay out the different values and color shapes, but then I'll go back in later and adjust where I need to, if it means making the contrast a little bit greater, as well as adding highlights or additional reflected color. There's been some dry time, and now I'm going to go in and continue to lay out colors in different areas, but I will also be able to go back on top of some of those areas that have dried before. You can see that I'm doing some noodling with a paintbrush, and I am adding a few details in here, partly because I want to see how they're going to work at the end. I will continue to do this throughout, sort of bounce back and forth in the things that I'm working on. I paint mostly with flats. This is an angled flat brush, and you can see I can get right up close to the edge and get a nice clean edge. You can see here I'm blending the colors a little bit as I go, working wet into wet with the brush. You get some really lovely techniques when you do it this way, and you'll see the way that it is different than if you're painting wet on top of dry. I'm going back into the body of the clear bottle with wet paint on top of dry paint. And this is a more opaque yellow, so a cad yellow and a cad red, as opposed to a lemon yellow or something that's more transparent and won't give me the same kind of coverage on top of what's already there. Go back and forth between my darks and lights as well, letting them dry often in between so that I can get a clear contrast. You can see here I've put the green on and then I don't like it, so I go back in and wipe it out with the rag. Don't be afraid to do that. Sometimes you get a lovely glaze of color that is left behind. Yellows can be tricky to work with. If your background is very dry and light colored, you're usually okay to paint with something that is fairly opaque, like a cad yellow or a yellow ochre. Lemon yellow as a transparent color, you can mix with a little bit of zinc white or titanium white so that it has a little more opacity. When you're mixing a complement of a color to create a shadow area, sometimes dioxanine purple works well, but sometimes that can become a little bit brown as well. So you may need to go in with a Payne's gray, just a tiny bit of that. I think you can see here as I add additional darks how it starts to give the painting more depth. You can see I'm putting these first shadows in pretty dark. When I look at the photo, I can see there are a couple of areas that have very dark shadows. I will soften and blend the edges a little bit with a dry brush as I keep going too. Having fun adding the final dark and light areas and constantly reevaluating the original image, the painting in front of me, and what I think it needs or how I need to adjust it. And I really enjoy this part of the process. So at this point, I'm just about finished, but I'm not sure I like the warm colored background with all of the warmth that is in the foreground. So I am going to cool it down a little bit by doing this kind of scumble glaze combination with another color in the background. It would be difficult to do a straight scumble because I have all those edges of the flowers. There are still going to be a few areas I may need to touch up, but I'm doing a thin layer of paint mixed with some medium, and then I'm brushing it in and kind of wiping a little bit of it away with the cloth so that I can cool down and unify the background. These are my very final details with a very small brush, kind of going in and adding the bubbles and the edges where I need to include those.